Okay, we're here today because I am doing a project for my IL 614 class as I work on my EDS at Jacksonville State University. And this class we're doing a project for induction and new teacher, a mentoring plan. It was a group project and I worked on this with Nick and Tiffany. And this plan is just more of an outline. You can tweak this for your school system, but this is more of an outline, and the purpose of this is so that new teachers will feel like they have a shoulder to lean on, so they will feel like they're not on an island by themselves. I've moved around for the last 3 years in a row, and now I'm a 20-year teacher, 20 years experience, and I can tell you that every time that I move, it's almost like starting over as a first-year teacher, because you go in and you're just lost. When you spent 15 years in one school system, you're the one that people come to for answers, and everybody wants to ask you what's going on and how do we do this. And I've been very humbled for 3 years in a row to walk into a place where things are already set up and they already have a system. And especially my last move, because I have moved into an inner city school, 98% minority, 98% poverty, and I'm 20 years experience. And I look at, there's one guy in particular, his name is Mr. Smith, and he is a first-year teacher. This kid is 23 years old. And I remember one day in the hall, I remember walking up to him, and I said, Mr. Smith, how's it going? And it wasn't going well for me either. I mean, I was struggling at the same time. But he looked at me with the scaredest look in his eyes, and he said, I don't know what I'm doing. And right then, I thought, okay, the 20 years of experience has me at least knowing that I'm not by myself. That kid, I felt sorry for. And there is not a mentoring program set up where I am. I'm in Mobile County, the largest school system in the state. And now I came from a small school system, and I'm seeing a lot of advantages to small school systems after being in one this big, because there are so many implementations and the next thing coming down the pipeline and PD for this and PD for that, that these new teachers are getting lost and they're getting overwhelmed. So the purpose of this is so they won't feel like they're by themselves. I'm briefly going to go over this. Of course, it's more in-depth if you do it with the teachers, but I'm just going to cover in 5 or 10 minutes the outline that the three of us designed. Okay, one of the first things you're going to cover with your new teachers, besides letting them know they're not by themselves, is you're going to talk to them about legal issues. And you're going to cover things like confidentiality, student records, safety, and appropriate treatment of the students. And you're going to cover each of those, and it's not a 5-minute thing, because we all know confidentiality is a huge thing. Watching those student records is a huge thing. So covering these, you're going to go over them, and you're going to let the new teacher ask questions. What do they want to know? Nobody ever went over these with me when I started. And I don't think that they do that now in a lot of places. Okay, the next thing you're going to talk about, here we go, are ethical issues. Okay, when we talk about ethical issues, we're going to deal primarily with the Alabama Code of Ethics for Teachers. Okay, but when we talk about the ethical issues, the primary goal of educators, and that is to educate children. That is always our primary goal. The value for every single person, whether they're black, white, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. Whatever religion they are, we have to want that child to be educated, and we have to love that child. It's easy to do. That part's easy. A devotion to excellence, we have to have that for our kids and for ourselves. And that goes into a pursuit of knowledge. You want that for your kids. You want your kids to learn, and you still want to be learning. I mean, here I am working on an EDS at 52. So still learning, and it means a lot more to me now than it would have meant to me when I was 25. And then we have to provide a nurturance of democratic citizenry. Okay, all of those things we're going to cover under ethical issues. Okay? A closer look at the Alabama Educator Code of Ethics. It's going to define professional behavior. It's going to give us a guide to ethical conduct, talk about the health, safety, and general welfare of both the kids and the teachers. It's going to outline objective behaviors, clearly defines unethical actions. That's the one thing when I was reading over it that was most interesting to me, that I thought would be very valuable. It not only gives you what you should do, it gives you a list of what you should not do. And now, when we run through these slides, and I'm going to tell you that it has 9 standards, and I'm just going to read them just like this, covering those is not going to be like that. It's going to take a while, because reading these things and understanding them and putting them into daily practice is going to take a while. Okay, standards 1 through 4. I don't know where standard 4 went, but standards 1 through 4, we're talking about professional conduct, trustworthiness, and unlawful acts. That is supposed to have a number 4 right there, so I'm not sure what happened to that slide, but there are 4 standards there. Okay, then we're going, there it is. Okay, teacher-student relationships. So each one of those is going to take quite a bit of time to cover. It's going to give us a list of do's and mostly don'ts. Okay, standards 5 through 9, we're talking about alcohol, drug, and tobacco use or possession, public funds and property, remunerative conduct, maintenance of confidentiality, and abandonment of contract. You know, and I've been in this 20 years, and until I looked at this code of ethics, I had never even heard of anything about abandoning your contract. So if we sat down with the new teachers and talked about these, and maybe some of the old teachers too, because I had never heard much about this. Okay, and then we're going to give these new teachers an introduction to programs. One of those programs would be special education, and you can see the different things that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the referral process, we're going to talk about response to intervention, formal assessments, IEP meetings, when those happen, who's in on those, maybe give them a sample of an IEP, show them what it's about, and let them sit in on an IEP meeting. And then we're going to talk about placements and accommodations. And that's a valuable one right there, because as a new teacher, you know, placements and what you're supposed to do for those kids, that can be very valuable. Okay? Then we're going to look at English language learning. We're going to help them understand an ELL plan. We're going to tell them how to communicate with the ESL teacher. We're going to help them figure out ways to increase parent involvement. And then the one thing we're going to tell them that is never wrong, always, always, always ask questions. And that's really what the mentoring program is for. So they will have somebody to lean on, somebody to ask questions to, and somebody to feel like that's their partner there. Okay? And then the purpose of this mentoring plan, the biggest purpose is support. And we're going to try to give these teachers tools for success. Teacher attrition is becoming a huge problem. In all my studies for this EDS program, the one thing that has shocked me the most is the number of good teachers that we're losing. But I will tell you, since going into this inner city school, which is like nothing I've ever seen, it is amazing to me what their daily lives are like as teachers. So the fact that we're losing teachers out of there, it doesn't really surprise me. So we've got to give them something to hold on to so they won't feel like they're all by themselves. And as a 20-year teacher, you're going to have to learn to humble yourself and say, okay, I'm starting all over. Because I may have taught 20 years, but I've never taught 20 years in this. So help me understand this. The process, there are going to be volunteers. We don't want to stick a teacher with somebody who does not want to be a mentor. You know those people that just, they're set in their ways. They don't want to do anything extra sometimes. And I don't know, inner city, it could be that they're burned out and they're tired and they're overloaded and maybe they have kids at home and they're trying to run everybody everywhere. So we got to make sure that we put these with somebody who is going to provide a positive climate and somebody who's going to say, okay, I know there are bad things, but there are good things also. And then finally, the mentoring plan. We're going to start out with content outlined by the month. Then we're going to, school administration will come in and they will give us direction. And then it's going to go to a district level for support and training. Okay, and then we have it broken down by month of what you're going to do in every month. You don't have to stick right by this, but this is a good map. And that's all this right here is for. And it's going to continue all the way through May. And in the month of May, after you've covered all of these areas, we're going to talk about reflections and goal setting for the next year. So we're going to reflect on what they've learned. One of the last things, and probably one of the most important things we're going to cover with them, student technology usage. And each district that I've been in has had different policies on this. You're going to discuss the importance of access. I mean, we are in the time of technology. It's no longer, okay, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you can't whatever. They have to have access to it. Okay, we're going to discuss the acceptable use policy for the district in which we are in. We're going to talk about personally owned device policies. There's a limitation of liability for each school system, and that is going to be enforced by having a signed technology use agreement. So in each school system, you'll sort of tweak this, and the coverage in Mobile may be different than the coverage in Baldwin, and the Baldwin may be different than the coverage in Gadsden. So you're going to go over whatever is for your system. So to wrap up, even though we're talking about a lot of programs and we're talking about a lot of do's and a lot of don'ts, the biggest thing that this plan is going to do is it's going to support those new teachers. Because a teacher, I really believe that a teacher becomes stronger year after year, because you're so much better in your 5th year than you were in your 1st year. And if we want to keep good teachers, we can't make them feel like they are by themselves. So, thank you for listening.